Hey Sarah, okay, so here is your past life spread. So what we're going to do is look at where you are, what you did with the majority of your time, an important day with the relationships and the feelings involved, another important day with relationships and feelings, and we'll go to the death, we'll get the lesson, and hints of time throughout, okay? So all I'm going to do is relay to you the images and impressions that are coming through. And your job is going to be to try to connect with them however you can based off what they are and your current life, making those connections. And I'll try to help however I can. So just be aware you can be making a couple of different kinds of connections. So one would be like a direct connection, right? So that means whatever's happening here, you experience the same thing in your current life, whether it's something you like or dislike, a fear, a passion, whatever it is, that would be a direct connection. The opposite connection, to keep your eyes open for too, would be whatever happens here, your soul incarnated into this current life that you're living in order to experience it in an opposite or very different way, okay? So keep that in mind, and we're gonna go ahead and start. So where we're going here is Asia. This is the Asia card, and there's a lot of obviously land there. So we're looking, at all the Asian countries, which sometimes includes Russia or Japan or this or that. So I'm just trying to see where I'm being pulled. And the thing is, what came through, like as I was shuffling, putting it down, they're giving me images. So it's more like what they're showing me are these it's like these vast, almost it's almost like plains, but there are mountains in the distance on either side, so it's not like you're looking out and not seeing any terrain, any texture. So it's but they're putting me like this whole vast air. It's almost like a huge valley of some kind where the mountains are in a distance on the side, but very far, and it feels like this stretch. It's almost like this place is known for what it feels like traveling, like travelers or couriers or whatever it is. This feels like almost like one of the, I guess, main roads of, okay, so what's coming through is they're saying the main roads of the province. So we're looking at province. I'm not exactly 100% sure what that might mean, but it just says we're looking at the province. So it feels almost like we are in China now. Okay. It feels like we're in an area in China. I know China's huge. So this place would be a huge main road, and how it is, it's almost like not a whole ton of greenery, it feels, because it almost is like so many people pass through it. It's used as such a traveling way that it's almost like things don't really grow so much there, but if you look out the distance at those mountains or whatever, then you see the greenery. So it's almost like they're giving me a feel of this is almost like dusty kind of thing. So there's a lot of, it's almost like dirt, and then there would be let's say there would be grass, except that horses go out over it, people traveling so much. And when I say horses, that also helps us with time frame, because it feels like this is a time frame before vehicles, at least before vehicles came to this area. So for example, this could be where vehicles are coming out in Western society or other parts of the world, but it hasn't reached this area yet. But it feels like we are going pretty far back in time, quite frankly, before vehicles, before electricity. Yeah, okay, just feeling it out. Okay, so I'm just trying to get, it's hard sometimes to get a very detailed place here, but what you can be connecting to, for example, would be China, or the Asian countries that you feel are Chinese related, or if you look at something and it's, let's say, Chinese culture, music, language, food, art, depictions, if you ever see them, depictions of historical China, what it used to look like, or old photograph, whatever it is. If you've ever been pulled towards them, if you've ever been triggered emotionally by China, the land, if you've seen and if not, I would actually ask you to go and Google China, the landscape. I want to say more the rural stuff, out away from cities where there's rural traveling routes is what I want you to go look at, on the computer, whatever, and see if you're pulled towards it. See how you feel about it. It feels like there's something about these routes that you travel often. It feels like we're looking at the life of a male too. So this is a male aspect, which, by the way, when we bring up a male aspect, when we're like, so if the reader, the sitter, so to speak, is a female and there's a male aspect coming through, this could mean, for example, that you might be a tomboy, that you might have masculine traits, you know, masculine, whatever that means to you, masculine traits, that you might have a very balanced gender, energy, so to speak. So you might be very balanced or aware of your feminine side and masculine side and very comfortable with both of them. Or that whole like different opposite connection could be you came into this life to be very girly, you know, because here we're looking at a masculine male energy. Let's see. You know, it's interesting because like the more I'm sitting here with the routes and that imagery, it's almost like I feel like that's part of your life. It feels like you're on the move. It feels like you're on the go. Yep. And it feels like there's horses involved. Okay, like very much so actually. That's even when I was shuffling, there's horses coming through and I'm like, okay, let's see what's going to happen here. So what's interesting too is there is something that is very interesting about this male aspect, his imagination, his mind. What they're bringing through is like how his mind is working is when he's on the road. So it's very, it feels like he's in a place and a time in a region around people that like a culture where it's good to be pragmatic, right? But it feels like while he's traveling on the road, he's in his mind imagining a lot. And it's almost like, I want to say, it's like he has an imaginary friend with him while he's traveling, if that makes sense. And this is, it's just, you know, being brought up for some reason. It's like to keep him company. But it's also someone here, it's almost like he's in touch with, it's hard to say. It's like, it's a weird feeling. I haven't gotten this before. It feels like he's in touch with his imagination, yes. And he like brings forward these like an imaginary friend, let's say, to be with him on the road. But it's also more than that. It's almost like he's not realizing that he's actually like he is actually in meditation kind of thing. Like when he's moving, it's like a meditative state of mind that he's actually communicating as well. It feels like a communication, almost like I want to say what we would consider communicating with spirit or communicating with other entities or whatever it is, but to him, for, you know, not having been trained or taught what it is, to him it's like imaginary friends or it's his imagination. So it feels like we are living in his imagination a lot while he's traveling, and that's what kind of keeps him company and also keeps him going and keeps like life interesting for him, because it feels like he's on these dusty roads a lot. So any connection you could be making to that could be one. Are you someone that likes to travel? Are you someone, now the opposite would be someone that wants to be rooted down, staying home, total homebody, doesn't want to get out, wants to just be home, like be in your place, that kind of thing. So, but the direct thing would be, are you someone that likes to travel? And it's almost like just wanting to get out, wanting to get away, jet away, but it's not like vacation to, I'm not talking about someone that like I want to go strike out for 3 months in Siberia, into the unknown. It's more like, okay, hey, let's take the weekend and let's jet out here and come home, like that kind of thing. And if not, then I feel like this is actually a little message for you to make sure that you are getting out more or getting out enough, like kind of like making sure you're touching base with civilization, making sure like you're getting out. I'm not saying like, it's funny because a lot of times I tell people it feels like you need to get out into nature more. You need to get out into, you know, be with the trees more and be with or ground yourself or whatever it is. This feels like it's almost like a message to get out to people more, which I usually don't get, but that would be coming up only if you feel like maybe you isolate yourself, or maybe even if you find that dealing with people it kind of like drains you or it's hard. This would still be a message for you that you still need the interaction, and to just make sure you are touching base with civilization a little bit more, or even like, you know, again, like on the weekend, take a day, go into town or something like that, or making sure you're finding the right people. Because if you feel like people aren't your gig, if that's the case, it might not be, but if that's the case and, you know, you feel like you hold yourself back because you don't want to interact, let's say, all the time, make sure you're just interacting, you're finding the right people to interact with, and it'll be totally different. So keep that in mind, because there's also the aspect of you traveling and the feeling of loneliness so much that you are in your imagination so much. So there's a dual thing there. One, Do you get bouts of loneliness? Or 2, do you enjoy being alone more? The other one would be your imagination, how you utilize it. Are you in there a lot? Do you play in your mind? Are there scenes being created? Are you talking to people? Were you someone that had an imagination as an imaginary friend as a child? Or do you even find now that you talk to yourself, even though, it's not going to be talking to yourself. A lot of times you're talking to your higher self, So it's almost like a message too, to trust your mind in that way and trust the interactions of your mind in a way where it's like, I don't know if you're trying to get in touch with yourself more or connect with yourself or your higher self or subconscious, whatever you want to call it, but she's right there and she's like waiting if you're not already. But there is something about trusting that you truly are more in touch, like give yourself credit more, like you're more in touch than you think, and don't discredit experiences that you might have that you may write off as your imagination. And something also, when I was shuffling and putting this down, I just got to mention it now. And even if you don't connect now, it's totally fine. Just tuck it in the back of your mind, and later on in life, or a year or a day, you never know when it might come up, and then you might connect later. So just, if not, fine. But if so, then here we go. A little thing came through about traveling, like, it's almost like for lack of a better, between realms, just like where you're out in the woods, you might be walking out in the woods, and then you take a step and you feel like you've entered into a different energy area. Like it's almost like you feel maybe even like you're in a place where if somebody else were walking along the same path, you might not see each other, because it just feels like like you step into a different energy. So if you ever feel like you're traveling in that way where you are stepping into a different energy, it doesn't even have to be the woods. Usually it is like a nature place, but it would be more like, it can even be in your own home. It's just, it's like, look into it. There are different dimensions, overlays, that kind of thing. Look into that. If that vibes with you at all, that would be a connection. If not, that's fine. Just tuck it in the back of your mind and wait, because there will be a time, if it hasn't already, where you're going to feel like you're going to be you're just going to be taking a walk, and you're going to feel like, I'm no longer in the same, let's say, dimension that I just was. Like the same reality. Like it could just be 1 step, 2 step, and then you're back. But it feels very much like we're looking at an aspect of you, which means you today, your soul, same soul, that is a traveler in more senses of the word than just traveling on a road, if that makes sense. So if you've ever been interested in anything like that, it can even be the most random thing, Sarah. It could be like the kind of thing where it's like you're watching a movie about the characters going in and out of different realities or timelines, and it triggers you, and you're like enthralled with it, and that's the kind of thing that really gets you very like intrigued. That would just be a connection here. So keep that in mind. And that hasn't really come up before that I can recall, so it's kind of intriguing for me to feel that too. So that's interesting. But make connections where you can. And also, I do want to say there's something about him as a courier or as a messenger or as a traveler, in the sense where he's like a delivery person almost, but it could even be a delivery person of like messages too. So this could also be connecting with you in a couple of ways, because he always went by horse. So if you have a connection with horses, if you're an animal person, if you are, it is horses here, like almost like you're able to easily, let's say, train dogs or train animals or communicate with them in a way that's nonverbal, whatever it is. This person could too. Very, very in touch with his horses. And it could just be your specific pets. And I know a lot of people are like that anyway. So, just connect if you can. And if not, that's fine. But there's also the messenger aspect to keep in mind, that something about communication and delivering messages. So that could be coming up for a couple of reasons. It could be one, if let's say you're looking for an idea for what to do as far as like a job or a hobby or a career or something like that, there's something about communication involved. So if anything is coming to mind right now where you've had an idea that has to do with communication, this would be a thumbs up. This would be a go ahead and move forward with that, with communication of some way, in some way. The other thing, what was I saying before, is about the communication, I don't know. Anyway, so just keep making connections where you can with this card, which, by the way, I don't even think I introduced this card, did I? What you do the majority of your time, which is this is the nomad card kind of thing, or it's like the traveler card, the moving around card, the mobile card, that kind of thing. So that's what this is, what we've been talking about basically the whole time. It kind of merged. Keep that in mind, and we're gonna go to the first important day. I might come back to that actually. I feel like there's like something else there. So, first important day. This card is the conquered, they have come, or the welcome card. It just means that there are like new people involved coming in, whatever, and we're seeing if they're here to like take over, or if they're allies, or if they're being welcomed, you know, like invited, like that kind of thing. So we're basically like looking at like, I guess what you would call guests in a way, but they're not always great. So the relationship involved is the soulmate card. And this is distant. Feelings distant. Now, what is coming through for the very, very first time with this card right now feels like it's not about feeling. It actually feels like it wants to be taken literally. So it actually feels like we're looking at someone coming from very far away to the place where you most reside. And that's where the distant card comes in. Actually, this time it's never happened before. This has always been feelings. But it feels like we're actually literally talking about someone coming from very, very far away where they look very different from you as well. Almost like there's no one else at this time that comes here that looks like that. So it's almost like, I'm trying to see. It's almost like, let's say you're Asian and then a white person comes and you've maybe just seen a few in your life. Like that kind of thing is what it feels like. And it also does feel like you are in it's like a Chinese province somewhere, but it's kind of far out. And I feel like that is why you don't see this kind of person a lot, because it's almost like there's no reason to visit you guys because you're not near like the main hub. You're not near a huge like trade area or a place where there are resources where other countries want to do import export, or it's almost too like it doesn't feel like you're near water. So you're not going to be seeing people coming in on ships, and there are no planes at this time. So it feels like in order for people to get to where you are, they have to like travel, I feel like by horse or buggy or whatever it is, wagon, whatever they take, and they have to travel far and like specifically know where to go to get to where you are. That's why. So I feel like this person comes into town and it feels like it's not just a person, it's like it's because there's it feels like a whole group is coming in, but there is one in particular. So hold on, it's very interesting. Okay, so what's really interesting, and bear with me, I don't get this a lot either, is it feels like there is a romantic interest coming in of another ethnicity, right, that we were talking about, but it also feels like it's a male. So it feels like we are actually looking at an attraction between two males, and that in itself could be a connection to you in a way where, a couple things. One, your sexual identity. Are you on the spectrum? Are you, this way, that way, whatever it is? Two, it could be, do you feel very compassionate or triggered by the gay rights movement and, pride and all that kind of thing? Are you like gung-ho with that? Like, yes, that kind of thing. Are you on board with that? So that would be direct connections, would be your own sexual identity, or hoorahing for, for that whole group and wanting equality. Is equality, the idea of equality, an important, very important concept to you? Is that one of the things in life where you're like, it gets you riled up and you want to see it? You're like, these people, they deserve to be treated equal, like that kind of thing. Like basically, if you were to be an activist, that might be something you might want to be getting into. Let's say if you're looking for not like a hobby, but a hobby, something to like put your time into, something that you're not used to. Maybe like, let's say you're used to doing something. Let's say you're used to volunteering at the Humane Society, okay? So you volunteer at the Humane Society and that's your gig and you're used to it, but then you're just like, I'm kind of getting bored, or I need something fresh and new to do. This might be something to consider. Now, on the other hand, you could be opposite opposite. So you could have come back into this life to be someone that looks down on it and doesn't agree with it and blah blah blah, like that kind of thing. So you make the connections however you can, but this is very interesting because this is opening up a whole new aspect to you that you never even saw coming, because there's something like you cannot help. There is such chemistry, and it's on a soul level, and it carries over to the physical level. And it's almost like you didn't know. So it's almost like he is just realizing that he can be attracted to other I guess, aesthetics than he previously thought, or that he's only known in his life, or that the people around him have known. Like, so, you know, being raised in this area, it's almost like, I want to say, it's completely, like, if there is any homosexuality at all, it is completely hidden, never discussed, that kind of thing. And that's what it feels like. And so it's almost like he is coming across something that is like world shifting, almost like, I can't explain it. It's almost like a very torn feeling, because he didn't, it's like a whole new discovery is what it is. So this, anyway, the soulmate comes in because there's a lesson here. And the whole point of their meeting and this attraction was to have a growth, like a huge growth in the soul and opening up. Oh my God, an aha moment. Oh, this explains something, or oh, this is wholly unique. Like, what a wholly unique experience in my life right now. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. Like, because you can't deny your attraction to someone. Like, if you're attracted, like, you might not like it, but you can't help it. You know what that feeling is. So it's almost about like not being in denial of your feelings. And I feel like that's the message coming through, is don't be in denial of your feelings. I'm not saying, oh, you're gay and don't deny it. That's not what I'm saying. It's more like anything. Like don't be in denial about certain things. Like, check in with yourself, check in with your belief system, check in with who you are, and don't be in denial of certain aspects of yourself. Don't push down things. Don't hold yourself back and hinder yourself in that way just because it might not fit in with what you consider, you know, your lifestyle, or fit in with the people around you. You know, it might get judgment from other people, or you might think it might, whatever it might be. You know what I mean? It's just basically just a little message of make sure you're not denying yourself to yourself. Make sure you're not denying certain aspects of yourself, because you were born how you were for a reason. Even what you might consider flaws, they're there for a reason, either to see them as no longer as flaws, or to conquer the flaws and to overcome them and to approach them and to acknowledge them and to see, how can I change this? How can I make myself better? How can I, you know, and honestly, making yourself better, it doesn't even require change, except to change your mind about how you see yourself and seeing yourself in a better light and loving yourself more, you see? So just make connections where you can with this in whatever way you can. And again, that message of just making sure you're just not denying yourself, because you were given all of your traits and qualities and flaws and everything to make up who you are, because you are so wholly unique. You need to really tap into that uniqueness in yourself and not push away parts that you might find unattractive, because those unattractive parts of yourself, you need to see, do I find them unattractive because of me? Or because society finds them unattractive and I've been taught that they are unattractive, but really they're not. They're just who I am. You know what I mean? So keep making connections where you can. And we're going to go to the next important day. And here, the next important day is the so long farewell until we meet again card. The relationship here is the soul group. And the feelings is love. So what's happening is, what it feels like is this group that came in, they opened you up in such a way, like almost like you see a whole new world. And then here, it's like, and they stayed. It felt like they stayed for a period of time because they were there for a mission or a purpose. And it could be like, I'm trying to see what kind of purpose this is. Okay, so what it feels like is this group, what came by wherever you are, your main it feels like a town. It feels like a town you live in. And it feels like they stayed because it's a stepping stone to where they want to go eventually. And it's almost like they stayed because they had to figure out where exactly they needed to go. It's almost like they were looking for something. And so it felt like they were staying. It felt like they stayed for, it's like at least, I want to say at least weeks, maybe a month kind of thing. And they stayed, and it's like they had to, hold on. It's like the only thing I can like relate it to is like, oh, you're on a quest to find the Holy Grail, right? So you get clues and you have to decipher a map. And it's like you don't want to waste any time. So every clue you get, you just go there. You go to the next place so that you can find the next clue instead of just being at home finding, it's like you have to get out and find the clues to get to the goal. I'm not saying they're on the quest for the Holy Grail. I'm just saying like that's the analogy they're giving me, is like there's some kind of treasure at the end of the rainbow and they want to find it, and your town is a stepping stone, and that's where they stop. But they stop for a reason. Everything is for a purpose. So they came here because part of the purpose was to wake you up in this way. Okay. So in doing so here we're moving ahead here, and this is the so long farewell. So this is where they are departing, and there's something where it's like they're leaving, and it's a very bittersweet feeling, very bittersweet, because you're staying. This is your life, and yet they have changed your life completely, but for the better. Again, opening you up, expanding you. There's so much, and it's like, it's the kind of thing where it's like, it's not even articulated. It's all just done because there's love. There's a lot of love involved. And yeah, physical love, but also just like respect, understanding. And then there's also the whole thing about it's almost like hiding the homosexuality in itself. There's love there because there's a connection of secrets. When you have secrets with someone, it's like you're bonded for life. Like that secret's never going to get out. Only the two of you know it, or the group or whatever. Only these very small amount of people know it, and it's not going anywhere. And that bonds people forever. So the whole thing about secrets, by the way, if that's a theme in your life, if that's something, it can be something for you. It almost feels like how you view secrets. Are secrets to you, are they in your life, have they been intriguing and fun and interesting and like mysterious, and maybe you're someone that loves the idea of finding something that has been lost for civilizations, like that kind of thing? Does that intrigue you? The secrets, the lost secrets. Or you can simply be someone that hates secrets. You despise secrets. You're very, very transparent, and you want transparency. Maybe that's in your life. Even currently, you're looking for transparency in a relationship, or in your career, in your, like maybe you hate how or you really dislike just how people hold back and withhold information, and withhold love, and withhold saying I love you even, like that kind of thing. So that's where the secrets thing can come up as a theme in your life that you may be dealing with right now, and might be needing to focus on and process, and maybe even see from a different perspective. Let's say someone in your life is not being what you consider upfront with you, or not being revealing to you, or not sharing, I guess, as much as you'd like, or not being as transparent as you would like. And if somebody's coming to your mind right now as I say that, that's who we're talking about. And if not, that's fine. But let's say that does come up in your life. It's there for a reason. You're dealing with that kind of thing for a reason. So it's time that's when you want to really focus and be like, how am I feeling about this concept of secrets, right? Or of being withholding, or of not being transparent? How am I dealing with it? How do I react to it? Does it fill me up with icky feelings, or am I at peace with it? Do I understand, like why these people might be this way? So it's almost like a message for you to make sure you understand that people act a certain way, or let's say they are keeping secrets, or withholding, or not transparent. They are that way for a reason. They're here to learn lessons too. You could be part of the lesson where you open people up and make them I guess articulate more, or be more open in that way. But also it could be that you're there to learn from them that some things are just not meant to be revealed, and you need to learn to find peace with not feeling resolved, if that makes sense. You don't always get resolution from problems, or you don't always get closure from people. You know, it might be, you know, ex-lover or whatever it is, and you might never get closure. So you have to learn how to get closure yourself. You need to learn to be at peace with things like that. So if you connect with that, great. If not, that's fine. Just tuck it in the back of your mind and just understand that you can find peace within yourself, and you can give yourself closure. You don't need apologies from people. It's nice, but you don't need it. You know, like, that's the thing. It's like, you can move on. You can, without getting external apologies. So keep that in mind. Keep making connections where you can here. I do want to mention the light of love comes in too here in the soul group, because it turns out these people that came as a group, they are your soul group. It's the soul group. It's, you know, these people, you know their souls. You guys, like, between lives, you guys are friends. Between lives, you know, you make a pact. You say, okay, I'm gonna go in and live over here in this little town in Asia, and you guys are gonna be born over here, and you're gonna be completely different looking, and we're gonna come together at some point in our lives, and we're going to teach each other a lesson. That's a soul group. That's soul family. That's a soul mate too. You learn lessons. It's not always great. Like, sometimes soulmates and soul groups, you meet people in life and they're complete assholes and they make you feel icky, and the lesson sucks, but it's a lesson. So overall, the ones that are teaching you lessons, whether it feels good or feels like crap, they can very well be part of your soul group, and they're doing you they're giving you, it's a favor, it's a boon, it's a good thing. So that's coming up too, to just try to see everything in the best possible light and try to find the lesson in every situation that might be hard or might be difficult, and you'll start to, I feel like, almost like lighten up. It'll feel like you carry less burden. You love people more, seeing that even if they're not so nice, you can see how it's helping you, you know, learn patience, forgiveness, how to put up boundaries for yourself, even putting distance between yourself. That could be a lesson in itself, is learning to put walls up, learning to put boundaries up. Whereas some other people in their life, it's about learning to take boundaries down, you see, which could be in this way too, where he's being approached with a concept that is never spoken about, and he moves forward with it in order to learn a very loving lesson, whereas, you know, he has to put walls down and boundaries down, whereas if it could have gone a different way, where he's like, oh, no way, I'm not even going to entertain this idea, you see? So just keep that in mind. It's about taking a step back, looking at the bigger picture. But here, anyway, light of love, it's a lesson of love. It's a lesson of loving other people despite their appearance, despite the gender, despite, you know, whatever it is, and about learning to love yourself despite maybe having tendencies, traits, qualities that you may have heard are not desirable. But ultimately, what's desirable is what you decide is desirable. So make sure that you are creating your life in that way and not allowing others to tint or color your life in a way that doesn't allow you to love yourself in ways that you should, okay? So keep making connections here where you can, and we're going to go to the death card. So here is the accident card, and right away I can tell you died on the road. So it feels like you died away from home on the road. I'm just trying to see what it might be. It could be heat stroke. Okay, so what it shows is it's almost like let's say that you have a horse and the horse pulls a little thing with it. So it's almost like, I don't know if when you do your job, if you're actually riding the horse or if you're riding like the thing that the horse is pulling, but it feels like it's like this bright sunny day, and it feels like it's super hot and dusty, and it feels like the heat gets to you before you realize it, and it almost feels again like a heat stroke, and it feels like a toppling or a bending over, like almost like, I don't know if you like topple out of the thing and you're left behind, or if you just kind of topple over in the heat stroke and you go unconscious, and then it's just so much longer until you get anywhere that you just die along the way, so that by the time you arrive, yeah, that's what it feels like. It's almost like your horse arrives at a place and you're already gone, and people find you just kind of sitting on the thing, and just like you're there, and it's gone. So what this can mean for you, and it's an accident obviously, because it's like you know, usually you're prepared and you do well, and it's just this, it almost feels like maybe it's like you're also getting older and you don't take your age into context, where it's like, oh, you should have brought more water, or you're not, you know, you're not that young anymore, you need to take care of yourself more, like you need to take more rests, or you need to stop more, but you just push through. So how you can connect with this would be, do you get dehydrated very easily? Do you have I want to say like chronic fatigue, chronic dehydration, like, so you get easily tired, easily dehydrated, and then you might not like hot weather. Are you someone that likes to be in the shade? Are you someone that likes to be near cool water? Are you someone that needs to, it's like you want to, almost like you have decided, your soul has decided to come back to place itself in a place where there would be shade, coverage, water, basically everything that he didn't have at the time of his death. So if that's the case, great. If not, that's fine, but those are the only connections I can think of. Now, what's cool is that, let's say you do get dehydrated easily, or what's it called? Or tired easily, and there's no reason for it, kind of thing. And it comes from here, and now you realize it comes from here. When you realize that things that affect you in your current life come from a different timeline, kind of thing, just the residue carries over, you can actually get rid of it through hypnosis, through meditation. You can get rid of it because it's not from this time, it's from another time, it's just a residue. So you can release that, just a FYI, it's kind of cool. Now, lesson time. So here, this is the brain and the mind and the strategy card, okay? So what's really cool about this is the lesson here. This is the lesson in the opposite way. This lesson of the using your brain and your mind and thinking and overthinking and analyzing, and that's what this card's about. And the whole point of this life was to put it away. Put it away and feel the love. Feel what's inside you. Feel what you want. It's all about heart and feeling. And it's an unusual thing, especially for a male, I feel, in this time period, in this region. And he was able, your aspect here was able to accomplish this. And that's a great feat to accomplish, is to learning to love yourself and others in this way. You know, all the things we talked about, putting what you have learned, what you've been taught aside, you know, based on, you know, what, overanalyzing, overthinking, what are others going to think? What, you know, how are, what are the consequences? Like that kind of thing. Putting it aside so you can listen to your heart. And I feel like that's just a carryover lesson, and because he learned it very much so, but it feels like it's being carried over into it would be like a lesson for you today to make sure you are checking in with your heart, checking in with yourself, loving yourself, making sure that your life is being lived based on your standards and what satisfies your heart and soul versus what you think is the right thing, what you've been taught is the right thing, you know, that kind of thing. It's a big lesson that a lot of us are going through, because there is a lot of society expectation these days, and keeping up with the Joneses, and and you should, you know, by the time you're 30, you should have a child and be married, and all that BS that doesn't vibe with a lot of us. So just make sure that your life is vibing with you. Make sure you are creating the life you want, because you can create the reality that you want to see. You just have to hold strong to, you know, what you want, basically. And that's where I think we talked about a little bit over here about checking in with yourself, to making sure that you're not in denial of certain things, making sure that you are not living certain aspects of your life based on others versus telling yourself, oh no, this is what I want. Make sure it's really what you want, okay? Follow your heart. It's not going to lead you astray. If you follow what excites you, and you know that, and it comes from your heart and it's good intention, it will not lead you astray. It might not have the outcome that you expect or visualize, but it will have the outcome that is best for your life in that moment, teaching you the right lessons that you're meant to be on. Whatever choices you make, you have to stand by them and trust them. If they come from your heart, that you are putting yourself on the right path with every choice you make. You're going down the path that is right for you, okay? So just trust yourself more and check in with yourself. Keep making connections where you can, as far as whatever we just went over too as well, but overall everything. And anyway, there is your past life. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're able to make some connections. And thanks for letting me read you.